This is a podcast from the Bugle.
In the common room of St. Winifred's Academy for Young Ladies, overstuffed armchairs, the ghost of high-spirited shenanigans and the faint aroma of tea permeate the wood-panelled comfort of this bastion of stiff, upper-lipped decorum. On one side of the room, Gwendolen Fairdonk, a plucky sort with a mop of dark curls and an irrepressible twinkle in her eye, stands with her little pink hands on her hips. Clarissa Jellyforth opposite her is a golden-haired angel of aristocratic elegance, lounging dramatically on a fairly uncomfortable chaise longue. What, she is known to say, is a chaise longue for, if not for longing? "My dear Gwen, I cannot bear it," Clarissa began, her voice and bosom quivering in a way that her mother, a sensible if ambitious housekeeper who'd married the Duke who'd employed her and was thoroughly bemused to be in possession of such a thoroughbred twit of a daughter, would have called unseemly. Gwen snorted, a thoroughly unladylike sound that made Clarissa recoil. "Oh, come off it, Clary. It's not as if you're being carted off to the colonies. You're just off to the Gargle. Welcome to the Gargle, the sonic, glossy magazine to the Bugle's audio newspaper visual world. I'm your host, Alice Fraser, bringing you all of the news, none of the politics. Your guest hosts this edition of the magazine are Alison Spittle. Welcome.
Pew, 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 pew. Hello. Lovely to be here.
I like your disco lights. I like your looming cow.
Thank you. It is quite menacing. It's my hench cow.
Let this be, listener, your prompt to watch the episodes on YouTube if you'd like to see Alison's disco cow situation.
If you want to see how I live.
Constantly. And Eleanor Morton, welcome.
Hello, I don't have a cow. I could get one for next time.
Could you?
The cow does look like it's, if we say anything threatening to Alison, it will get us.
That is why I got it.
It's more like if we say anything about Alison, it might get her.
I feel like the head of the dairy council. I'm like, so you got a problem with whole fat milk?
Ermintrude here would like to know about that.
Before we enter the fecund field and start cropping at the lush grass that is this week's top stories, let's have a look at the front cover of the magazine. The front cover this week is of tech billionaire Sam Altman desperately pretending he's happy about DeepSeek and its competitive impact on the world of AI. I mean, at last it has proven that these tech bros have achieved something truly human-like with their AI, that it has had its job stolen by AI. The satirical cartoon for today is the US government, cartoonishly drawn as a lady in a 1950s slimming ad. And the tagline reads, "Drops trillions off your bottom line." And the lady's going, boop, and saying, "Does my workforce look bloated in this?" And now it's time for your top story, and this is the news about DeepSeek, that China's DeepSeek has launched, disrupting the global markets, the arguable overcapitalization of the American tech broligarchy, and just swept the knees out of everyone who thought that in order for AI to work, it needed to be raising $150 billion every 5 seconds in order to keep up with the appetite for constantly trying to do stuff that would eventually prove that it had a financial or business use case that would justify the billions of dollars spent. Eleanor Morton.
Hello.
You've sought deeply before. Can you unpack this story for us?
Well, like all things AI, I am slightly baffled, but what I believe is happening is that after Trump and his new government announced that they had their own new sort of, is it crypto? Is that what that was? They announced crypto. What was it called? It's called something stupid.
Called a meme coin, which is to say it is anchored to nothing but its own popularity, like a teenage girl at high school.
Yes.
Anchored to nothing but their own popularity, no inherent value. And basically every meme coin is essentially a game of bluff/poker, where everyone's trying to hold on just long enough for the meme coin to meet its peak valuation and then get out and leave someone else holding the bag. That's essentially the game of meme coins, is get out at just the right time to make someone else responsible for your life decisions.
Yes, and once again, I don't understand crypto much more than I understand. But what happened was that the whole sort of AI, crypto, all that stuff, the industry in America, which was, the new president and his friends were all very excited about has basically been unseated by the Chinese model of AI called DeepSeek, which can apparently do everything that the American models can do, but cheaper and quicker and better, and I assume more aesthetically. So I think everyone's a bit confused that. And also that it was trained on DeepSeek was trained on one of the other AI models, the American ones, which means that it has been hoisted by its own petard, which is certainly a thing I think everyone, apart from people who are into AI, could have seen coming.
Well, yes. Basically, it's been trained on the data that's been spat out by the other models. Is an argument. It's not yet been proven, actually, but there are claims that this is the only way that it could have reached the quality that it has reached. But I feel like there's a sort of a fundamental lack of sympathy that these current AI models have had their terms of services violated, given that they I think argued to the government that if they were forced to pay for the data they were using to train their models, they would go bankrupt, which is not a reason not to pay for your business expenses. No. It's just saying my business wouldn't work if I had to pay for my product.
Sounds like a terrible business model. I guess it's kind of like when your boyfriend cheats and then he gets cheated on and he can't understand how that happened. It's sort of like you're playing that game. You gotta understand you might get got, and they got got. So I think it means a lot of money has now suddenly dropped out of all that, or the value is plunged. Is this right?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Alison?
Yeah, I'm delighted about it. Like, they have turned the plagiarizing machine on themselves, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know this would affect me." All of the tech bros are kind of like, they're trying to go, yeah, we're cool about this. This is great. A bit of healthy competition for our terrible machine. And AI this is what I want to say. The AI is not a great product. My phone, I used to be able to. I have a Google phone, an Android phone, and I used to go, "Hello Google," and then I would ask it to Google stuff because I was just too lazy to type. But lately, it's done an update where it's got Google Gemini on it, which is AI.
Yeah.
So now it will not tell me what the weather is like because they are just a language machine. And I'm like, I don't care about the language machine. I just don't want to type.
No, but it can tell you what the weather makes you feel like.
Oh my gosh. Or if you wanted to write a tonally correct letter to the weather, do you know what I mean? If you wanted to say, "Hey wind, please don't kill me or my friends," but in a warm tone, you can do that. Like, it's just, it feels like a culture war with AI. It feels like people didn't mind when it was artists who were being destroyed or writers or creatives, because I think that's seen as kind of like a left-wing thing to be creative, and AI felt to me like a kind of right-wing thing of like, we can draw witches too. This is not just, we can do furries or whatever.
This is what most of it is used for, as far as I can tell.
The two forms of internet art, furries and witches.
Yeah.
My boyfriend's mum loves squirrels, and all she does is send him pictures of AI pictures of squirrels and hats and things. I don't know if she knows that they're not real, but she loves them. And I don't know if he's got the heart to tell her that that is not a real squirrel really wearing a Victorian dress, carrying a parasol. But she's so happy, and yes, it wastes a lot of water, but what can you do?
It's like, with the one last thing about AI, it's Instagram have been offering me a lot of AI content, and
yes,
it's
me
about
too.
like lifestyle stuff. So you'll get this woman who's just walking in a bikini with a green background, and she'll go, "Lychees really make your big juicy naturals grow big," and I'm like, "What's this?" And then I kept looking at this woman's breasts, right, for about 2 minutes, and I'm like, they're on a loop. Wait, this woman is fake.
Whoa!
I figured out that was AI just through watching tits shake. That I was like, this is not the natural trajectory of breasts this big. Like, this has to be AI, and it was. And now I'm just staring at people's decollage. Now I'm like, are you a robot? Like, that's how I'm figuring out fake AI stuff.
The fluid dynamics are off.
Genuinely, I was.
The stuff I get on Instagram, I don't know what this says about art. viewing habits, Alison. But what I get is fake AI videos of fishermen finding sea monsters and mermaids that are obviously not real, and
Wow.
like it'll be like a mermaid, and like halfway through the video she'll sort of grow an extra tail, and then it'll sort of disappear again, and all the comments will be like, "Oh my god, is this real?" And that is deeply worrying. But I can't stop watching them; they're so weird.
What are her breasts like, Eleanor? Like a mermaid?
They vary. Sometimes they're quite monstrous mermaids, just like scary mermaids, not very sexy mermaids. But then, yeah, sometimes they are sexy mermaids. So it really depends, I guess, on what else I've googled that day. But yeah, it's. I mean, this is how we die, I guess. Searching for fake mermaids on Instagram. This is what it's all leading up to. This is what the money and the energy is going towards. So
Well, I mean, it's extraordinary technology and it can do extraordinary things. I just feel like people are not applying it to extraordinary things, Like, it's not like collecting medical data and spitting up new information from that. It's like, how can I see a mermaid with 3 boobs, please?
yeah, because it's not being promoted or produced or created by people who care about other people. They're just like the problem with art is it's not quick enough, and it doesn't. It's not quick enough, and it's not simple enough to do. That's what people want from art. They want it to be quick and simple. So
Yeah.
we'll do that.
I have seen like AI art of like an AI art short film of a cat enacting what it was like to be a firefighter on September the 11th and dealing
Oh
with
my
the
god.
aftermath. And it's
Yeah.
just to Billie Eilish's "What Was I Made For," but in meow form. So meow 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 meow, and you just see a cat crying meow meow, and his cat wife just like touching his shoulder, and he's like away. And
Oh my
I've
god.
watched that on loop for hours, so it does know that I like that. I'm like, yes, show me cat PTSD.
Your ad section now, because you can't be what you can't buy. And this episode of the podcast is brought to you by the Mental Health Haircut. Having a nervous breakdown? Not sure who you even are anymore? Try taking a friend's sticky beard trimmer or a local hairdresser to the problem. Whether it's an inadvisable undercut or trying to dye a word into the top of your head, the Mental Health Haircut will temporarily distract you from your problems without even beginning to fix any of them. Mental Health Haircut. Lose the mop and find yourself.
I feel very red there, Alice.
So yours is a fashion haircut.
Is it?
Is it? Is anything? And with Valentine's on the horizon, for those looking for love without compromising your optimized life, we bring you the new dating app, Unhinged. This AI-optimized dating app does all the work of a relationship for you, from first approach to sexting to planning your first date. An algorithmically selected perfect match will just show up at your door. Conflict emerging from your fundamental inability and unwillingness to communicate? We can help with that too. Rest easy with the assurance that her AI bot will present her concerns to your AI bot, and the next morning you'll both receive a bullet-pointed summary of the fight and its resolutions, your action items, and a set of suggested make-up sex positions to re-establish your intimacy. It's not like difficulty is an essential part of human growth. Unhinged. Sign up today for our Valentine's Day special to get 1 month free access to the premium tier of Possible Lovers, ad-free, normally twice the price. Use code ROMANCE for 50% off. And have you thought about what you're getting your beloved for Valentine's Day? Is it expensive jewelry? Sure, nothing says commitment like a financial decision you can never take back, but have you considered that you like to give them the moon and the stars? Bringing you half a glass of water. At night, if you spread it out on a smooth surface, that surface will reflect the velvety infinity of the cosmos. The next day, throw it in the face of your lover, signaling to them in an unmistakable way that you want to immerse them in the majesty of the universe. Half a glass of water. So romantic.
No.
That brings us to our next top story, which is the news that in the possibly most German use of Christmas trees I've ever heard of, the elephants at the Berlin Zoo are fed on overused finished Christmas trees. That's how they dispose of their Christmas trees. They feed them to the elephants. This feels, I don't know, like simultaneously really efficient and somehow immoral. I feel like elephants shouldn't be eating pine trees.
Yeah, it does seem like a mouthful. Texturally, I wouldn't be for me now. But yeah, this is this is in Berlin. For elephants, at Berlin Zoo. It's time. It's finally time to unwrap their Christmas presents. They say, right? So basically, any unsold Christmas trees are given from shops to Berlin Zoo for them to feed the elephants with. It doesn't accept trees from the public, which could contain chemicals or leftover Christmas decorations, and they're also used to keep the animals occupied as well. And the animals can fight with them. I love the idea of fighting with a Christmas tree. They can rub themselves against them. They can throw themselves over them and do various things with these fir trees. And he said it's there to enrich the animals, and they're very happy about it. I mean, it's a lovely story.
I mean, it is. And Florian Six, who's the zoo's curator for mammals, says they don't just serve as food, they're used to keep the animals occupied. And I presume most of the occupation is the elephants going, why the do I have a Christmas tree?
Yeah, it's also like it's very past Christmas at this point. This is leftover Christmas stuff. It feels like you need to jazz up. If the leftovers are that old, you should do what my mum does, which is either put the Christmas trees into a curry or put the Christmas trees into vol au vents. Like that's the best thing to do
Yes.
with Christmas leftovers.
Fajitas as well.
Oh yeah, fajitas.
Yeah, fajitas. We always do that.
Or soup, but that like I'm a lover of soup, but I
was gonna say she'll make anything into soup.
I will even trauma.
I like that, you know, the description of how exciting, like it's sort of like a Rubik's cube for elephants. The animals can fight with them, they can rub up against them, they can throw themselves over them, and do various other things with these fir trees. So essentially, the elephants can do everything with a Christmas tree that your drunk uncle could also do with a Christmas tree, and has done on Christmas Day. I enjoyed that. That was fun.
And that brings us to our reviews section. As you know, each week our guest editors bring in something to review out of 5 stars. Eleanor, what have you brought in for us today?
I am reviewing some weather this week. I am reviewing Storm Eowyn. I was in the heart of it. I was in the eye. Well, no, I was in Edinburgh and it was very windy. I'm giving it 2 stars out of 5 because as much as it was quite scary and bits of roof came off and no one could go anywhere and all the shops were closed and my house shook, I'll give 2 stars for just, you know, it was quite exciting at the same time. It was quite fun, you know. There's a bit of drama. It was called a once in a generation storm, which means the generations are getting shorter and shorter because we also had one.
It's now generations of iPhones.
Yes, exactly. We had one of these storms about 15 years ago, and it was called colloquially called Hurricane Ballbag because it was just a bit of a dick, really, and it swept through Scotland. But yeah, I mean, I thought you know, as storms go, it was fun. The name was fun. It was, you know, it was fun to get a day off. Obviously, I'm a comedian, so you know, it's up to me if I have a day off. But I pretend I had a day off, like when you get called in from school because the heating doesn't work. Which, as I speak to English comedians and people from other countries, apparently that doesn't happen outside of Scotland. So
no, in Australia, you get it called off if it's too hot.
Yes. Well, we're the opposite.
And what have you brought in for us, Alison?
I'm reviewing having a 6-foot cow cutout. I've had it for a couple of months and I want to give it 4 stars. It's given me a boost of confidence. It normally lives behind my television normally, and it's been really great. It's really jazzed up watching the darts. You know, it's very exciting watching darts. You know, just the whole kind of like going for the winner and everything like that. But to have a 6-foot cow tower over these men while they try to do darts in front of a really, really drunk crowd and a 6-foot cow, it makes it very exciting. So yeah, I'm gonna give it 4 stars out of 5. It's great. It really is fantastic. Yeah.
4 stars out of 5 for having a giant cutout cow. I feel like you've really influenced me.
Good. Do you think maybe I'm giving it such a high review because I'm afraid of it? Like it is the rest of the movie. The cow looks
possible.
upset. It's like, why not 5?
If anything happens to Alison, we'll know who did it.
And that brings me to our next top story, and this is the news that a surgeon has performed a vasectomy on himself as a gift for his wife. The story is exactly what it sounds like. Alison Spittle, you've reflected on yourself before. You've done work on yourself. Can you unpack this story?
Yes, this is absolute self-care. This is a dude in Taiwan. He did his own vasectomy, and he also put a video of, I think it was on Instagram, and he was chatting to people whilst doing it. And one of my favorite quotes from this story is, "It was a strange feeling to touch and suture my own urethra." And I'm like, yeah, I bet that was a strange feeling, buddy. He got into a bit of pain. He used a numbing gel, and then he gave himself a vasectomy. He has 3 kids already, and yeah, he was doing it to educate the people. Um, would I be watching it for education? Like, am I planning to do a vasectomy in the future? No, I'm not. But knowledge is power, and I do want to know how it's made and how it's done. And how do you feel about vasectomies in general? Like, have the people in your so I'm on contraception at the moment. I've had discussions about vasectomies, and it's been a big no go. And I'm like, why is that? And the person has said, I don't want a knife near my genitals, and I'm like, fair enough. But but the contraception that I'm going through either changes my hormones so much that I have a mental breakdown, or I get into so much pain that I faint. And it's kind of nice to see a dude take the contraceptive option into his own hands and actually man up and do it. Like, it is fantastic
Yeah,
in that
literally.
way. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like, imagine you're walking down the street and you're an imposing dude and you start a fight with a guy in a pub, and then he turns around and he's performing a vasectomy on himself. You're not. You're gonna step away from that fight. You're gonna be like, no.
That's a warning.
I'm sitting out of this one.
I feel like the romantic element and even the educational element would be fulfilled by him getting someone else to do the job on him.
He's really cheap, Alice. He's really cheap.
At least he is a doctor, you know. I mean, if he was a plumber and he said, I'm going to do my own vasectomy, that would be... Although I actually think plumbers, out of everyone, they'd probably be the best replacement.
Yeah, they're used to connecting pipes to other pipes. But
Exactly.
I feel like, he could have at least found some other vasectomy doctor who was ready to do a vasectomy and needed they could have done swapsies. They could have operated on each other simultaneously.
Like a circle jerk of operations.
It is vasectomies are one of those things that has baffled. The second you find out enough about it, you're like, wait, so it's quick, it's simple, it's reversible, it's relatively pain-free. Why aren't all men having these constantly? And then you remember the world we live in. It's like, oh yeah, because as you said, Alison, it's so much simpler if we just go on hormones or have abortions than just one little snip that once again you can reverse. But I guess because we grow up with a bit more pain in our everyday lives from all that stuff, we don't see that as a big deal. But I guess no one really does go near their genitals generally with a knife, so they're not that used to it,
Are you suggesting we start to desensitize them?
I think if all women knew how to do a vasectomy, I think men would think a lot more carefully about their choices.
Wow. But that's just another job then for women to do. Like, there is this thing of like
true.
Men going out with women and then they get their beards all trimmed and nice looking and stuff like that, and they go to therapy and
yeah, they get fixed up.
I feel like even relatively healthy men have a very strong inner belief that they could play a national sport if called upon immediately.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
B, knock someone out with a quick clip to the back of the head like they do in a
Absolutely.
James Bond movie. And C, impregnate anyone at any minute on demand if required to.
Yes.
And so I think, you're taking out one of the 3 legs of the stool that is the masculine ego.
They're all poised for the possibility that they might be in a plane crash on a tropical island with lots of beautiful women and have to repopulate. And I'm very grateful that they've thought of that.
Yeah, they have to repopulate and like split the resources. They're like, oh, there's only so much food in this island. Why don't I make more humans? Yes.
Yeah. But I also think it's funny not funny, but interesting. He chose to do it live, not something anyone really asked for. But it does remind me of Samuel Pepys, the diarist from the 17th century, he had a party where he had his gallstones removed, which in those days basically just meant they got hooked out through your penis because there wasn't really another day. Yeah, very painful and no anaesthetic. And then he had a big party to celebrate and was like, I think the stones were like on display. They had all these courses and things. So I think men have always enjoyed making a bit of an exhibition out of that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
good on them.
It is great content. It's very like, get ready with me while I give myself a vasectomy. And it feels like a makeup tutorial. Like it's a beautiful thing. I wonder what the top tip is for giving yourself a vasectomy.
Don't be drunk.
Don't drink a coffee.
Top tip, don't chop the tip.
Yeah, top tip. Yeah, keep the tip. Yeah.
If you've cut that off, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our final story of this week's episode of The Gargle. Apparently, Meta is trying to lure TikTok creators over. I mean, it was originally in light of the TikTok ban, the now Uno Reverso TikTok ban, which may or may not still be reversed. But apparently it's trying to lure influencers over to Instagram for up to $300,000. Eleanor Morton, you're a viral sensation. Can you unpack this story for us?
Yeah, I was very upset to hear about this. Nobody's offered me $3,000 or even $5 to do anything on Instagram. So I don't know who these creators are, but it's not me. It looks like Instagram want to be the place to be for these, the go-to place for the short form content, which it's so interesting the way that they saw how TikTok works and they went, we want some of that. And they didn't sort of think, no, people come to Instagram for different things. It was the picture app, and that was what it was for. And now it's sort of become this sort of weird hybrid thing that doesn't really satisfy anyone, because if you want to just post pictures, then you can't. And if you want to watch videos, go to TikTok. So I think they might be fighting a losing battle here, but I'm very willing to change my opinion if they do want to offer me $300,000. Alison, is it a rude question? Do you make any money from Instagram? I make no money from Instagram.
No, and in fact, last year I was knocked off Instagram. Gargle listeners will know I probably was screaming about it. For about 2.5 months, I was off Meta because I shared a meme of the singer Pitbull chasing a child. The child was really being chased by a puppy. But they put Pitbull the singer on. I thought that was very funny. I was like, aha, a pun. Meta did not, and I think that Meta do use AI to. So it is kind of like this is like a all-encompassing story, because also I was thinking, the dude who did his own vasectomy, that was on, where was that? Was that on Instagram as well, on Instagram Live? And I love that, because I was thinking about him being on Instagram, and here's the top tip if you are doing your own vasectomy and you're on Instagram. Why not sit on your hand, so then when you do your own vasectomy, it feels like someone else is operating on your penis. It's a perfect idea. So I have a weird love-hate relationship with Instagram, because it probably is the one social media that I'm the biggest on, because X is dead to me, which is really sad. My TikTok algorithms are so disgusting that I don't use TikTok that much, because I don't like the reflection of the person it's telling me I am, which is I love watching fights, people confronting each other in fast food restaurants, people calling each other out, or weird AI videos of Britain's Got Talent where Simon Cowell...
Oh, I've seen those.
Have you seen those where people just turn into tigers or whatever? I can wait 6 months for that to come to Instagram instead of just getting that on TikTok straight away. You just wait a couple of months and then Instagram will show that content. It's fantastic.
Can I just say I didn't know that was why you were banned, and now that I know that, I'm glad you were banned, and I hope the ban comes back, because that kind of irresponsible sharing of puns should not be condoned by the wider community.
Zuckerberg is cracked down on it. He went on Rogan and he's like, I don't like double entendres. I don't like jokes.
Well, puns essentially call into question the fundamental capacity for words to have meaning in the universe. So they're really a glimpse into the void. And, existentialism doesn't play well on the algorithm.
But
No,
it
it's
it
true.
is interesting because what content is going to be worth paying for? Because the content that really gets engagement is not good for people.
I mean, this is why puns might trigger an existential crisis where somebody who was on Instagram might think, is this actually making me happy? And then we would...
People get shocked that people used to go to hangings and things, but I mean, that is what social media is. It's just us watching people suffer and then laughing at it. So humanity really has not changed.
That's true. We just call like criminals Karens now. That's
Yeah,
it. It's like go
yeah.
watch the Karen.
I feel like I need to do a Karen reclamation project, because I think, of course, there's a percentage of Karens who are just awful people who are being awful people. But I do think there's a percentage of just ladies who have spent their entire lives taking too much shit for everyone, and then they get to menopause and their hormones change gears and they're like, wait a minute, I'm never going to put up with anything ever again.
Yeah.
There's definitely a type of white woman who I do see myself in a bit, where it's like you are meant to be nice and polite, and then eventually you just snap and go insane, and who knows who you're going to shout at.
I do think like in about 20 or 30 years we're going to get the saying, we are the daughters of Karens that you couldn't handle. You know, that's what's going to happen there. There's going to be a reclamation.
I mean, it must be hard for Scandinavia as well, because it's a lot of Karens in Scandinavia, literally. So it must be difficult for them.
Generally in Scandinavia it's difficult because a lot of fights happen in business places and shops because a lot of people can't afford the
I should get
and
you
that
banned
brings
from
us...
Instagram.
I declare that a pun. You were to be in the slave camps of Zuckerberg's gulags.
And that brings us to the end of this week's episode of The Gargle. I'm flipping through the ad section at the back. Alison Spittle, have you got anything to plug?
I do. I'm really excited about this Radio 4 series I have coming to an end next week on Wednesday at 11 p.m. You can go listen on BBC Radio 4. It's called Petty Please, and you can catch up with the other 3 episodes on BBC Sounds. And it was really fun. This week's episode is about Barry from EastEnders and karaoke and how I love them. And also, I got a new podcast coming up with Poppy Hillstead in a couple of months, and it's called Magazine Party, and it's where we read through Take a Break and That's Life magazines and all those kind of like Women's Weekly horrific stories, and we laugh at them. So that's going to be great fun and hopefully not too problematic. And go listen to that. I'm also on tour with Work in Progresses. I'm doing a few gigs in London. Come see me. Just go to my Instagram if it still exists, and you'll find my link tree in the bio. Thank you.
Excellent. Eleanor Morton, what have you got to plug?
I have a book. I had a book last time. I've still got a book. It's called Life Lessons from Historical Women, and it's all about women from history that I think are underappreciated. And I think the paperback is coming out soon, and we all know that means slightly cheaper. So please go and buy that. Also, I am at Soho Theatre in London, March 24th, 5th and 6th, doing my show from Last Fringe, Haunted House. Please buy a ticket for that if you're in London, because they send you the ticket report every single day. So that's not stressful. And I show all about ghosts and spooky things. So if you're into that, then hopefully you'll enjoy that. And then I've also got a new podcast with Alistair Beckett-King, who is my, if you've seen The Substance, he's Demi Moore, I'm Margaret Qualley. And and it's only monthly because we're both very busy, and we look back at children's classic literature from people's childhoods. We read books from the past and we ask if they're still good or if we should cancel them. And it's a sort of cozy, fun read with occasionally, a bit of gulping at the problematic books of the past. So check that out if you like that mix of things.
And you can find me online at patreon.com/Alice Fraser. It's one-stop shop for all of my stand-up specials, podcasts and blogs, as well as my twice-weekly writers' meetings. Expression of interest forms are up now. If you want to come to Switzerland with me and do a writers' retreat in September, you can express your interest so I know whether to do it or not. Also, I have a book, A Passion for Passion. It's available now. It's coming out on the 6th of February. So it will be in your bookshops. It is on your online, and I am doing a tour in the UK from the 6th of February through to the end of February. I may be in your region. Check it out on alicefraser.com. All of the dates are up there. There is also a live stream launch party with The Bugle, which you can find at thebuglepodcast.com for the 6th of February. It'll be at 7:30 p.m. You can come along at thebuglepodcast.com, help me launch. I will bring the metaphorical cubes of cheese on sticks. You can wear a fancy hat if you like, but I'm not going to judge you if you don't. This is a Bugle podcast and Alice Fraser production. Your editor is Ped Hunter. Your executive producer is Chris Skinner. I'll talk to you again next week.
You can listen to other programmes from The Bugle, including The Bugle, Catharsis, Tiny Revolutions, Top Stories, and The Gargle, wherever you find your podcasts.
Oh, hello, strangers. Friends I haven't met yet. Enemies I've not yet engaged in revenge quests against. Let me put down this sword, put this wet dragon away, and welcome you in. This is Realms Unknown, where science fiction and fantasy collide in the imaginative imaginarium that we call a podcast studio. I'm Alice Fraser, your guide to the galaxy's goblins, dungeons and dystopias we'll be hurling ourselves into in a weekly hero's journey through realms unknown into the dark but sensual heart of all our favourite speculative fictions. But it's not all fun and problematic dwarven games. With you, our trusty band of ruffians and a cast of regular guest questers, we'll navigate the wild realms created by brilliant authors, filmmakers, game designers, and more. We will share emerging subgenres, old passions, tropes, trends, and all the big questions like, which elves are the sexiest elves? The answer is space elves. Why does this TV adaptation suck? Why do dystopian city planners always choose quadrants as the subdivision? Why do authors never call coffee coffee even though the drink they're describing is clearly coffee? And why are wizards and Terry Pratchett the only men in hats we'll ever trust? So whether you're a seasoned adventurer or you've never blown a week on a series about orcs who join me for Realms Unknown. New episodes drop every week on your podcast app or on YouTube. Do not resist the call to adventure, chosen one. Join me for Realms Unknown. Pull up a hewn log bench or a hover stool and pour yourself half a crystal goblet full of water.